There is serious concern about what's now being called a grave issue in Eastern Europe. A group of House Republicans urging the White House, urging the president to have U.S. forces on alert in the region, and it appears concern spreading through, well, much further than Washington. New Fox polling shows 46% of Americans disapprove of the Obama administration's handling of the issue with Russia and Ukraine. And Congresswoman Michele Bachmann is one of them, member of the House Intelligence Committee, and with me now from the Hill. Good morning to you. There will be, the NATO Supreme Commander, General Philip Breedlove, is on the Hill today. We're hearing it from House members. We're hearing it from Senate members. What are you so concerned with regarding Putin in Ukraine now?
Well, I've met with General Breedlove during visits that I've had in Brussels. He is an incredible man and a wonderful leader, and I think it's important that members of Congress listen to what General Breedlove has to say today. I'm very concerned. I share the concern with my fellow Americans because it's very clear. Putin is the former head of the KGB, now called the FSB, and he has a very clear strategy for Russia. He intends to amalgamate more power in Russian hands because, quite frankly, he sees no roadblocks in front of him. President Obama has failed to put any meaningful roadblocks in his way, and he's planning to go full speed ahead.
Well,
and we should assume that is his plan.
You know, there's a threat of continued sanctions, and I would argue that you have to take it to the level of the sanctions that Iran lived under for years in order to have an impact. And I don't see the sanctions going to that level just yet. However, the president was in Europe this week. Did he help advance this issue at all?
The president gave great rhetorical flourishes in his remarks. I will give him that. It was very professorial, the speech that he gave. But we weren't looking for a grand speech. What Russia wanted to detect is whether or not there will be any muscle backing up the words. That wasn't evident from the remarks that were given. And if the EU and the United States of America doesn't stand strong against this very powerful leader who has very strong intentions with more land grabs and power grabs, he will continue to move forward unabated.
If that's the case, what do you do? What's next?
Well, the greatest thing we could do is impose real sanctions. I think what Ronald Reagan would have done is very simple. He would have made sure that the EU and the United States have a robust economy. Europe has a weak recovery. The United States has had a fairly anemic recovery as well. We need a full-on embrace of a full energy policy, which is build the Keystone Pipeline, legalize American energy production, export LNG, liquid natural gas, open up every avenue of fracking and of energy that we have. That would break Russia economically if we take away Russia's customers, and that would be opening up energy production as well in Europe and the United States. You might exporter.
Yeah, you might have a lot of people agree with you on that. The president said Europe needs to diversify its energy needs, and perhaps they need to, but is this administration willing to do any of what you just mentioned?
No, not to date. They may be willing to do some increase in LNG, liquid natural gas exports. I agree with that with the president. Does that. But again, we have many, many steps to get there. And for the president not to embrace a robust, full-on U.S. energy program at this juncture, what is it going to take, Bill, for him to do that? Because this is our best offense. Reagan recognized that you have to have a very strong economy. That broke the back of the Soviet Union. President Obama has done just the opposite. He has embraced a weakened United States economy, and now he is weakening our military defense posture. So he could certainly make an announcement that we're going to build missile defense in Poland and the Czech Republic, like we formerly promised to do. That would be another signal.
Well, that was one of the first things that was dismissed during the early days of the first term.
Exactly.
However, you mentioned the U.S. and the world. Here's George Will. Then I'll show you a Fox poll right after that. Listen.
They really believe the world changed when we turned into the 21st century. They didn't notice that the first thing that happened in the 21st century was an act of war against the United States in downtown Manhattan and at the Pentagon. They really think that war somehow is out of date.
Let me ask you about that and respond to this poll as well. 52% in our Fox poll think the country compared to 6 years ago is weaker and less powerful. Certainly you don't want war with Russia, and the president says a military option is not on the table. Others say you got to keep all the options on the table. Think about that number right there. 52%, a clear majority.
And that's what I hear from people, not only in my district, Bill, but all across the United States and, frankly, across the world. I was just in London last week, and I traveled up to Oxford, where I spoke before the Oxford Union. And I will tell you, across the world, people see the United States in decline. Fox is having a special called Surrendering the United States of America. Can you believe that these are the topics we're talking about today? That's clearly because of the failed policy choices that this president has embraced. We are better than that. It is in the DNA of every American to fight back and to be the best. And I think that Americans are begging for leadership, and that's why I think the president's approval ratings are low. But that really is meaningless. The most important thing is that America is strong both economically and from a national defense point. And George F. Will, whom I love, is 1,000% right on this when he made his comment, because the United States of America has to recognize these are very serious, critical times, and our president has sent the completely wrong signals since day one of his presidency.
Buck McKeon
That's why we're where we are today.
Buck McKeon says the war in Ukraine has already begun. Michele Bachmann, thank you for